Hi, I'm Jiggs Burgess. I'm the author of Wounded. And if you want to know more about this play, just keep listening. And I fell in love with theater as a kid. We had a local community theater back then that did a lot of outreach to kids. But, my parents also used to go into Fort Worth and Dallas to see theater. So it wasn't a strange thing for us. I mean, even though my dad was a cowboy, um he kind of he loved literature and theater and things like that. Why did I have to? I mean, just become part of the theater? How could you not? I mean, it's theater's life. It incorporates everything. It incorporates history and romance and sadness and happiness, and you can be whoever, whatever you want to be. As a writer, I can be all those characters at once. So yeah, there's no way I couldn't be a part of theater. I fell in love with it again as a child. I fell in love with writing uh, really around fifth grade. It's when I felt voiceless and writing gave me a voice. And it's about that time I found out that writing could be powerful too, that it had effects on people. And sometimes not such great effects, but it had an effect on people. And it, it really was an obsession from then, from childhood. I have had times where I stopped writing from uh, September 11th, 2001 until about 14 years later. I did not write because it didn't seem important. And then I realized at some point just how important it was to me. And so I went back to writing. My process is, I think, not like a lot of people. I tend to write in my head a lot before I ever put it down on paper. And so that I've got the story and most of the characters there. Now, with, say, the red suitcase, that changes completely, because the red suitcase was supposed to be another type of play completely. And once I got into writing it, I had to go back and rewrite everything, uh, because my process was just going in and writing and to get to see what it was about, and it turned out not to be the story I thought it was going to be. But I think a lot of writers map out, on paper, things like that. I don't. I do it. I in my head a lot. I'm not going to say I don't organize or I don't map things out, but it happens in my head, and so that whenever I start to write a piece, I can really hear those voices. Um, and it's a lot of people think it's weird when I say I can hear the voices, but it's not the same thing as just hearing. It's just hearing it in your head, like your voice is your narrator in your head. But I'm able to do that in my head, and so that whenever I start to write, I hear that voice or those voices is never just one, and it just kind of comes out at that point. If it's good, it just comes out at that point. If it's not so good, then it might be a little bit more of a struggle. But after your first draft, I mean, your first draft's always going to be crap, but it's all about the rewriting. Then after that, that's the next part of the process. The first part is just getting it on paper and getting your ideas down, and it's going to be crap. But in the rewriting, you find um, what the piece wants to be, what it needs to be. It's kind of like carving out of a piece of stone, I guess. But you see the form there, in the rewriting, you can make the form happen. Well, theater is not complete without either a audience or the actors, which is why it's unique. A novel, you sit down by yourself and read, and you find those characterizations yourself based on whatever the author has written. Uh, but in the theater, it takes both that actor and the audience, as well as the writer, um, to complete the piece. And piece is never the same. I read somewhere, and I can't remember who the playwright was that said this, but he said that writing a novel, you get to go back and meet your old friends, and when you read it, you get to go back to meet your old friends, and they're always the same person. In theater, you go to see your old friends, and they're constantly different. So it doesn't matter what day you see it on, it's going to be a different, or what production. If it's the same production on different nights, it's going to be different. And well, that's life, isn't it? Everything's constantly changing. Nothing's ever the same. And and I, to me, that's why I love sitting in a theater, and I can set shows 2 or 3 times and just love it because I can see the differences. Uh, and with actors, as a writer, yeah, you just can't do it without the actors. It doesn't matter how well I write if I don't have really good actors. Then it doesn't work. It's once again not complete. Oh gosh, Wounded's a twisted little tale. It came to me as I was sitting on my back porch watching my hummingbirds, and you'll see how that's that's definitely where it comes from when you see the play. Uh, it's it's a tale that I've been obsessed in the last few years with justice and revenge. And when is it justice and when is it revenge? And this doesn't deal with the justice part. This is really about revenge. But I had this, and I had that voice of the lead character, and I knew that he had been wounded, and I knew he was an incredibly um, wounded character. But I also felt, knew he was funny, and that he would amuse people. Um, but I had he wouldn't leave me alone until I wrote him, number one. And it just turned out that this obsession of mine with justice and revenge fits in with that character really well. Um, and once again, I don't want to go too far into that. Maybe saying it's about revenge is actually too far, because the first um, probably third of the play, you're just going to love him. You're just gonna, he's gonna be, I think, somebody you want to know. And the last third, I think you're gonna understand just how damaged this guy is and how dark he can be. So, well, it's about Carrol. Carrol is he is a mediocre writer at best. He's had three books published. One was made into a movie. It was the worst movie, the only movie that Meryl Streep ever did that got bad reviews, according to him. And but he's been forced to move back to his hometown to take care of his mother. He promised his father before he died that he would do this, even though he has brothers that could do some of this. He's promised that he would. And in doing that, it just has dredged up a lot of pain for him over the years, until we get to this point where this friend comes to visit. And I say friend loosely, but the friend dredges up more childhood, junior high, high school pain um, for him. And it's I think it's he had a revenge fantasy, and he sees the opening to actually make that fantasy real. Yeah, I think that theme is that we're all damaged, and some of us are more damaged than others, and hide it until we can't anymore. I think that's the major theme for that show. Craig Taggart has been with this show from the earliest drafts as a reader. He just came in with the right voice, the right attitude. Um, I didn't think I'd be ever be able to find anybody that was exactly what I wanted for this part. And this actor can do it. He's just incredible in this role. It's like I had written it for him, but I had not. Um, and then Shaw, who plays Robert, the second character, he was a friend of Craig's, who we were auditioning, and Craig said, "Well, I've got this person who'd like to." And from that first tape, it was just amazing. And so the two of them together are going to blow this show out of the water. If the show doesn't do well, it's not because of them. It's the script, because they're just incredible. I think they're going to be surprised with their change of feeling for Carrol. I think they're going to be surprised with what he's made of, without kind of going any further. I think some of the things he brings up will surprise. Now, I also think that we have to warn people. There's a lot of sexual kind of violence that he talks about. So that's, I'm hoping that we get that warning out so that it doesn't surprise people in that way, and that's not a good thing. But I think they're going to be surprised by the fact that they're going to go home and they're going to feel conflicted by these characters. Who's right, who's wrong, and I don't think there is an answer to that. People should go to, well, they must go see Craig and Shaw play these parts. Is one of the reasons they must. Uh, and they should, because I think it's going to once again, to me, the biggest thing about theater is that it makes you feel something. And I think whether whether or not you like what it makes you feel, and I think that this show will make you feel, and it will make you want to discuss things afterwards. And so for that reason, I think people should go see it. Um, I personally think the writing's good, but I would. I don't always think that about my writing, though. But I think that there are things in the script that are just well done, and with those actors, I don't think people want to miss that. I think it's something that people are going to talk about. If we get it right, it's gonna be legendary, iconic, whatever you want to say. My hopes and dreams for the full show, Wounded Sparrow, is um well, that I can get it whipped in shape to have that world premiere, and that since it's a really only, well, there are four characters, but one character does not speak in the first um, act. It's a small enough show that people can do it. Uh, my hope is that this is one of the shows that I've become known for. I mean, Red Suitcase too, but I think Wounded doesn't pull any punches, and I hope it's compared favorably to other modern works. And I'm not going to say them because I don't want to be that kind of that kind of ego doesn't suit me well. But I hope it's is compared favorably to other late 20th century, early 21st century writers. Um, and that's really my hope for this play, that it's one of those things that I've become known for. And it's an unusual play for me. And in its darkness, it's unusual for me. Because I like that ending that show with hope. And I think you're ambiguous about that at the end of this play. Hi, I'm Jiggs Burgess. I am the playwright of Wounded. And I beg you to come see this show, because you're going to see some performances that are going to blow you out of the water. So come see us. See you at the theater.